Middle School, what's up? It's Pastor E here. And, I just want to know how you all are doing today. Because in the past few weeks, we've seen so much in our nation. With the killing of our dear brother George Floyd, with the protests, the burning of buildings, the riots, the National Guard moving in on our cities, including here in Atlanta, the police brutality. It's been a lot. So I want us to just take a moment right now and just breathe. While the whole nation is crying, I can't breathe. Today, I want us to take a minute and breathe. So inhale with me and exhale, let it all out. Because we've seen so much and it's been a lot and it's hard to watch. It's challenging, it's frustrating. Sometimes it even makes us angry or afraid. And it's disappointing to know that today in our nation, as minorities, as black people, we're still being treated differently. And there's an absence of justice. Justice is someone being held responsible for the wrong things that they've done. So it's been a lot to watch that, and it's been disappointing to know that we face inequalities in our nation. And inequality is when you're being treated different because of your race, because of your gender, because of where you come from, because of your background or how much money your parents, your family makes, or just any reason at all, being treated different. As you all know, we've been in this series called Exodus 14, Red Sea Rules. And it's all about how God freed the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. With Moses as their chosen leader, God delivered them from slavery and parted the Red Sea in the process. And from them, we've been learning ways that we can get through tough and challenging moments in our lives. Moments like what's happening today in our nation. And so today, we're gonna learn rules 6 and 7. See, our Bible tells us that as the Israelites were freed and they were moving to the next destination, the Pharaoh changed his mind. Pharaoh was the king of Egypt, and he changed his mind about freeing them from slavery. So he went after them. He chased them to try to capture them, to bring them back to slavery and oppression that's being treated poorly. And when he did that, the Israelites were afraid. They cried out to God and to Moses. And Moses took their pleas to God. Now let's read about what God had to say in response. So Exodus 14, chapter 15 says this. The Lord said to Moses, "Why do you cry out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on." So when they had Pharaoh on their backs, trying to catch them and take them back to slavery, as they were afraid with the Red Sea in front of them, not knowing exactly what to do next, God told them to keep moving, to go forward. And in our world today, we are challenged. Some of us are afraid because of what's happening. The inequalities, the lack of justice, the protests, the killing of George Floyd, and so many others like him. We're frustrated, we're angry. We have so many feelings going on the inside. But just like Moses and the Israelites, we have to keep moving forward. We cannot allow racism and oppression to keep us stuck and not doing anything. We got to continue to get up each and every day and use our voices and move forward. So y'all might be saying, like, Pastor E, for real though, how can I help us move forward? I'm just a 6th grader. I'm just a 7th grader. I'm just an 8th grader. And I can't vote like the adults. For some of you, your parents are not going to allow you to go anywhere near a protest. So what can you do next? And you know what? I've been thinking about this a lot. And even as an adult, I can go vote. I can go protest. But protest peacefully. But what else can I do? And I don't really have the answer to that question. I honestly think about it every day. But I think moving forward begins with remembering rules 1 through 5 that we've already learned. And so rule 1 is to remember that we are here on purpose. That God created you uniquely special. He put something on the inside of you that can help change the world, that can impact the world in a major way. So remember that you're here on purpose. Get up each and every day. Continue to work on your skills. Develop your talents. Because God can use your gifts and your talents to help move us all forward. Remember that God is bigger than everything. Rule number 2, God is bigger than every situation that we could ever face. Rule number 3 is to acknowledge the bad, but always trust God. Acknowledge that there are things that are happening around us that are scary, that are frustrating, that make us feel hopeless and helpless, but trust that God can work it all out for good. Rule number 4 is pray. Keep calm and trust God. So rule number 6 today is keep moving. When you don't know exactly what to do next, keep moving forward. It's when we remember these things that we can begin to move forward. That we can begin to move forward like the Israelites and Moses did as they faced the challenge of crossing the Red Sea. They moved forward. They pushed forward. We can begin to move forward like our ancestors did, the Black American slaves, as they overcame slavery in our nation. We can begin to move forward like Martin Luther King Jr. and all of the civil rights leaders that overcame segregation. They moved forward. And for those of you who don't know what segregation was a period in our nation where while black people were free from slavery, they still were treated very much differently. They could not go to the same schools. They couldn't live in the same neighborhoods. They had to ride the back of the bus. They couldn't drink from the same water fountains. They couldn't eat in public restaurants. But they overcame that time in our history. And so just like all of them who move forward, it's our turn to do rule number 6. And that is to move forward. And as we begin to move forward, there may be some uncertainties, some things that we're not sure about. We're not always sure about what's next, but we can be sure of this one thing, that we're not alone, that God is with us. So rule number 7 is to remember that we are not alone, that the presence of God is with us. See, Moses and the Israelites, they were being chased by Pharaoh, like we said. They didn't know what to do next because Pharaoh and his army was chasing them, and they had the Red Sea in front of them. But you know what? Because God was with them, they could hear what to do next. In Exodus chapter 14, verses 16 through 18, it tells us that God told Moses to lift up his staff in one hand towards the Red Sea and to lift his other hand towards the Red Sea. God said that when Moses did this, that he would create a pathway that would divide the Red Sea so that the Israelites could walk through the Red Sea easily on dry land. They didn't have to swim. They didn't have to walk through the water. But God created a way for them to cross over to the other side. And you know what else, you guys? I think it's so cool that we see in the Bible that Moses was lifting both of his hands. Because you know what that tells us? That when we lift our hands, see, lifting our hands is a sign of surrender. It's also a sign of praising God. But that when we lift our hands and we surrender, that means give up our situation to God. That he can do something major. He can take care of it and he can handle it for himself. So that means that we have to realize that there are some situations that we can't fix, but that we have to give it up to God. And when we give our situation to God, that he can fix it for us. He can create a way for us to overcome that situation. And I'm not just talking about what's happening in our nation today. I'm talking about what's happening in your life, in your home, in your day to day. Whatever's happening in your life, I want you to begin to give it to God and watch him do something amazing in your life. It says a lot that Moses did exactly what God said to do. And when we do like Moses did, we surrender our problems and our situation. We give it up to God. Not try to fix it ourselves. When we give it up to God, God can change it. Just like he changed it for Israel. He created a way for them to overcome. He created a way for them and everybody else to know that God was in control of their situation. And just like God was with Moses and the Israelites that were freed from Egypt, God was with Joshua and the Israelites that were crossing the Jordan River and facing giants so that they can get into the promised land. And God was with our ancestors as they overcame slavery. God was with the civil rights leaders as they overcame segregation. And God, middle school, God is with us right now. And just like God created a way for all of them to overcome the challenges that they face, God will create a way for us to overcome this. But we have to remember to move forward, to not get stuck, to keep getting up each and every day, to use our voice, to trust in God, to develop our gifts and purposes so that we can help impact the world, so that we can be a part of change. We have to remember that God is with us. And so I want to encourage all of you to be brave and to be strong. To remember that we are not alone. That God is with us. The presence of God is with us. And when we acknowledge the presence of God, he can help us know what to do next. And sometimes that means that not only do we need God, but we need each other. We have to come together and unify, put our gifts and our talents together, help each other. What does it look like for you to move forward? I've talked a lot about what that looked like, but I want you to begin to think about what it's going to look like for you to move forward. Are you going to continue to develop your gifts? What are you going to do to move forward so that you're not stuck, that you're not afraid and stuck and not doing anything to help us change in our world? Here's a start. Many people are going downtown to Atlanta to help clean up all of the damage that was done during the riots. And sometimes change starts with doing something small just like that. So I want to challenge you to go out and do something good. Do something small that can help impact somebody and change. And I want you to take care of yourselves. Continue to breathe. Breathe. When it gets too heavy, breathe. Take care, you guys. Peace.